So have you ever seen people with color blindness, hemophilia, Duchenne muscular dystrophy, or even G6PD? Do you know where all this come from? The answer all lie within sex-linked genes.
Now, what do you think is the meaning of the sex-linked gene? Really, if you want to understand what is the sex-linked gene, you have to understand first the last word, which is gene. So what is the gene? Gene is the part of the DNA on the chromosome which can be transferred to the offspring. There are two types of gene, which is the first one is the dominant gene and the second one is the recessive gene. Recessive gene will not be physically visible when they are in pair with the dominant genes. Well, if you look at this Punnett square, I will not go into the Punnett square because there are the group to do the Punnett square, but basically is that we let the big B be the brown eye. It is the dominant trait or the dominant gene, and at least if we have the big B, we will have the brown eye. However, if we have the small b and the small b is in pair, we will have the blue eye. And we also should not think ahead ourselves that recessive gene is always bad, because if we look at this example, this kid have 12 fingers, and 12 finger is actually the dominant trait or the dominant gene. So after you understand the basic concept of the gene, now I can get you to the topic of our group, which is the sex-linked gene, or another word, sex-linked trait, or we can call it X-linked recessive. And these two pictures are relevant to our topic. The picture on the left is Thomas Hunt Morgan, and picture on the right is the book that he published. I will get you into the more detail. Okay, so in this slide, these are the pictures of the Thomas Hunt Morgan. Thomas Hunt Morgan was actually the geneticist. He spent half of his life on the fruit fly rooms, approximately 20 years, in the University of Columbia. And in that room, there is a bottle full of Drosophila. Basically, it is fruit fly. And why he chose fruit fly for his experiment? Well, the simple reason is that a fruit fly actually reproduces very fast, and it has only 4 chromosomes. And it is actually that room that made him get the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine in 1933. I will explain you very simple. This is what he did to the genetics. Well, the original theory of the gene inheritance comes from the Mendel about the peanut, Pisum sativum. He is like ones that continued about the gene inheritance. He is the ones that made the big boom in the genetics. He found out that actually there is some characteristic that pass on to the offspring and is visible to our eyes. He even published his book on the name of The Theory of the Gene in 1926. This book has made a big progression for the genetics because it made genetics become the worldwide accepted division for the biology. The Theory of Gene.
In one of his experiments, Morgan crossed an exceptional white-eye male fly to a typical red-eye female, and as expected, all the F1 generation are entirely red-eye. And after he got the F1 generation, he crossed them to make the F2 generation, and the ratio of red to white-eye was 3:1. However, the ratio is maintained because all the female were red eyes, and half of the male were red and half of the male were white eyes. From his experiment, Morgan hypothesized that the gene responsible for the eye color is only present on the X chromosome, and he called this X-linked genes. There are also genes that are only carried in the Y chromosome, and they are called Y-linked genes. However, the Y-linked genes are not as common as X-linked. Another example of a linked gene that we encounter a lot in everyday life is color blindness in people. A colorblind man and a colorblind carrier woman creating offspring will result in 1:1 ratio of color blindness. Other males inheriting the X-linked colorblind trait from their mother will be colorblind, and other females that inherit both of the colorblind gene from both of their parents will be colorblind, and the rest will be carriers.